How funny.
Ah. Man, I forgot my glasses. See, I'm blind as a bat. And those minutes, you got a lot of grist there that you can in the correcting the minutes. You got a lot
Noticed a few things.
the typos. I can't believe it. I looked at him today and I said, what the hell? But I've been using lawnmowers and weed whackers, and
Mhm.
so the fingers are stiff and I'm hitting the wrong keys all the time.
Do you ever, how do you type them on a laptop?
Yeah,
Does it have, cause I use this a lot, off to
An
for
acceptance,
comforting
kind of an
the,
acceptance of thing. I mean, a seemingly, I'm not saying a conscious acceptance, but just kind of, that's where I am. There's no like weeping or wailing about, I want to go home. There's none of that.
So far, I have nobody in the waiting room.
Okay, so we're good?
Yeah, if they don't get in 5 minutes, then they get a pass because they didn't.
There we all are.
On here it tells you participants that are waiting in the room and no one's in the room except for us.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, and if you end up watching this later on, the rest of our members, we apologize in advance for the unintentional technical difficulties through no fault of our own.
It is being recorded, however.
I know, I just said that.
It is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't have
No,
to
no, you don't have to worry about
sit
it.
here and take minutes.
I thought you were commenting on my just comment that I made that it's being
Oh,
recorded.
listen, my hearing is so bad. I gotta get some hearing aids.
And
Really.
glasses.
I can't, and you've been reading my script.
So before we get started with our agenda today, I would like to welcome Wayne officially.
Yes, Wayne.
And so, Wayne, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go around the room and everybody can say a little bit something.
We wanted to get out of here early, but or on time,
We got a
so.
long resume.
So,
On
yeah,
a timer, Wayne.
yeah, so moved up here from New Jersey. Actually part of the greatest Western New York migration. Late 80s, early 90s. They had wanted to consolidate my group up here. Lindy Praxair, and it was a Tonawanda facility. So I brought about 1,000 jobs up here, the 89 to 92 timeframe, and that was why I came up, and I was supposed to be out of here in 95. And kind of liked the place. Daughter went to school, grew up and everybody. So I've been here since 89. Within a guess a week or two, but that's me.
Ryan?
Ryan Clark, been on the island a couple of years, met my now wife in Syracuse and she grew up here, so transplanted out here myself. Work with M&T Bank in the software technology side of things. Yeah, I play a lot of golf.
Martha Ludwig, I'm co-chair with David. He can't make it tonight. Been on the island for about 8.5 years. Love it. Probably my forever home. And I currently work as a senior instructor at Western Governors University. It's an online remote university. And I've been with them for 11 years in June.
Thanks. So,
Kristen Cassio, born and raised on the island. I serve on this committee and conservation board. And, I mean, I already had offline told you a bit about myself, so we'll keep it short.
I'm Roger Cook and moved here in 76 to Grand Island, East River first, then bought a house on West River. And been on this board for at least, you were here 8 years you've been on, so I must. On this
Oh, I haven't been on it for 8 years. I've probably been about 6.
6 years. I must have been on this board for 8 years.
Yeah,
I've
you
been secretary at least for that long, and I'm happy to find somebody else that might want to do that job. My fingers are getting tired from pushing lawnmowers. Anyway, good to have you on, Wayne. Just
thank you very much.
And Jen, our technical aficionado there.
Wayne pretty much knows me, so I know Wayne, but yeah, I'm the one that tries to figure out everything I'm not supposed to.
how many boards are you on?
Yeah, yes.
So I had on the agenda on the meeting minutes, Roger.
I'm hearing more or less.
Kristen, I heard that there was a few things that you wanted to tweak.
Oh, I haven't had I just did
Okay.
a quick run through.
Okay,
A few spelling things, but I haven't had a chance to really.
okay.
They're filled
Just
with
leave it through
typos
it.
and I can correct those easily. I was typing in the dark and my fingers were stiff as hell.
Did anybody else have a chance?
That's a reason. But there might be some substantive, and you had that long, not long, but that
Mhm.
rewrite of the statement. So if you can correct that for me, I'd appreciate it.
Take a look at that.
I'll make the correction in minutes.
Okay. Well, let's table the meeting minute approval until our next meeting in June then, to give everybody a chance to get up to speed. Feel free to send Roger anything that you would like him to tweak. And in the meantime, Roger, I'll put it out there as official in the recorded meeting that if anybody's interested in transitioning to having a role and wants to be secretary, Roger, our long-term secretary, would appreciate the break.
I'd be happy to turn over the pen.
One of the things that Roger does for the notes, though, that makes it much easier for folks is he typically does it off the recording instead of trying to keep up with everything during the meeting. So it depends on how technically savvy somebody is, if that works for them, or if they'd rather take the notes in person. So, the next thing on the agenda is the mission statement. We might not get too far with it today, but we can certainly review the options that are out there already. Sarah, who can't make it tonight, put hers in, and Dave sent me his, which was really just, I think, a minor tweak of one of the other ones on the page. And so we can look at what we have so far. I don't think it's a good time to make that full decision unfortunately, with Felicia and Bob not being able to get into the room, and Dave not being here as well as Sarah. So, but I think we can still look at them and see what's going on with them. So, I'll read you Dave's. Uh, Um, I gotta find it.
It doesn't seem to be working. I sent them a note and said, enjoy the night. Zoom's not working if you can't get that code to work.
Well, I thank you for trying as
Yeah.
much as you could.
I
I
sent him a-
appreciate that.
Are we recording though?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so,
It's not live. Most of them aren't live anymore. Sorry, but.
That's okay.
Board in the workshop.
no worries.
And
Oh, so we're not live streaming.
yeah, no, they don't really live stream anymore. That's why you see them come up like 3 weeks later. They post them later.
Okay, so the one that David sent was, our mission is to, and I'll put this into the document. I just didn't have a chance to put it in yet, so that we can see them all piece to piece.
Might be able to type it in as we go.
Okay,
That's helpful.
sure.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep,
Let me know when you're ready.
ready.
Our mission is to foster sustainable economic growth and vitality within the Grand Island community to cultivate a robust business ecosystem that through proactive initiatives that lines, plural, with our values. By attracting,
Is this a new sentence?
yes, according to the way he has it written. By attracting, identifying, and supporting businesses that complement our values, we strive to create a thriving business environment contributing to the overall prosperity of our community. Thanks for doing that.
Sure. Back to.
And sorry, that was Bob or Dave?
David M. Bob just sent me another text. Let me just reply to him quick. Billing and- Okay,
Yeah, you'll see, and you're all getting those emails because I'm replying to the original,
that's okay.
so. Nothing to do. I sent him the picture of the code and that didn't seem to be going through, so then I sent him a separate code.
I just let them know, sorry, it appears Zoom is not working.
Yeah.
And I know you sent the email. Okay, I didn't compare Sarah's yet to, the other ones that Ryan, you did, and then Felicia did. Now, did you both do them through Chat GPT?
Yes.
Okay, it's interesting that they were slightly different. Or did you ask questions differently, I wonder?
We might have posed it a little differently.
Okay,
Anybody mind if I just, on this document, put the towns, the current one up at the top?
no, I play with it all you want. You can, it's free editing. Um. Okay. So Sarah basically just said she copied and pasted her favorite parts from the existing paragraphs. Did you move the town ones already?
I moved the town one to this. I'm assuming that's how it reads now. The mission of this board is to proactively develop Grand Island's business community.
Okay, now. Must have caught you in between moving.
Is that right? That what's on the top
Mhm.
is the current?
That's now the town.
That's-
That's the current one on our website for EDAB, yes.
One long, oh, two sentences. Is that corrected?
Yeah. Uh, So it seems like the phraseology, our mission is to foster sustainable economic growth appears in Ryan's, David's, and Sarah copied that part that she liked it as well. The different one with Felicia's was our mission is just to foster economic vitality. But I like that combination of sustainable economic growth and then vitality. I think that's a winner as far as that goes. Um, within the Grand Island community. um, While preserving the unique character of our town, I think that really has to be in there.
Mhm.
Then through proactive initiatives, we support the growth of existing businesses. I'm looking at Sarah's. While attracting new businesses that align with our community values and contribute positively to our town's identity and economy. By attracting, identifying, and supporting businesses that complement our values, we strive to create a vibrant and inclusive business environment, contributing to the overall property and well-being of our town. So I'm just checking to see what's different from the one that Felicia.
Felicia's was character and heritage, that sentence, the
Mhm.
character and heritage
Mhm.
at the end. I don't mind the word heritage, to be honest with you.
Yep.
It's the-
No, I would agree.
Let me check one more time here. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, and if I
That's okay.
haven't hit Wayne in the head with the chair yet. it's a
No,
miracle.
you've been good. I'm like, trying not to be noticeably late. I'm like,
Remember to turn, not hit Wayne in the head.
So the other thing in Felicia's was supporting existing businesses by providing them with resources and opportunities to thrive and grow. That was not in the other ones. How does anybody feel about that part? Is that really our job?
They're all very aspirational
Well,
at this point.
Yes.
but that's kind of what a mission
Yeah.
statement's supposed to be.
Right.
It's We're, you know.
Right.
it's More about the journey than the destination. How, you know, where are we looking, how are we looking to get to where we want to be? How do these differ from the existing?
Oh, I can tell you that one in less than a minute. Oh, you're gonna show them? Okay. It's,
This is the existing.
the existing one is a poor shadow of the others.
That's why we're rewriting it. At least we thought it needed to be redone.
Well, we're rewriting it for a couple of reasons. One, we don't like the current one. Two, we don't feel it reflects what we feel that this board should be doing. And three, our goal is after we agree on a mission statement, we're going to present it to the town board as this is how we see ourselves moving forward, and we wanted you to be aware of, you
Right.
know, our mission statement. So we're looking at as providing them with it rather than saying, is it okay if we act like this?
I think the word proactive
Yes,
is kind of the key word in that whole.
yeah,
It gave us more of a initiative.
right. But how does anyone feel about that whole piece? Because that's not in any of the others about providing them with resources and opportunities to thrive and grow.
Which one is that?
That's in the Felicia
Alicia's.
one that her AI generated.
So someone comes in and asks, or if we're looking at that, well, how would we help them
Right.
and direct them and where they're gonna go? So we probably they would never reach us that far. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't be helpful in putting some puzzle pieces together and making connections, but is that language that's necessarily needed in there where I don't think it's really needed in there, to be honest with you.
I would
Because I don't think
agree.
it's connecting any dots. The dots are there with all the other words kind of thing. And if it's gonna come to us, that's the point.
Mhm.
But you're really not offering services up to come to, I mean, obviously we would do it, but we're not, our board really isn't offering these businesses to come in. So we can find all these different opportunities
Right.
for them to grow, or more connections, finding business to come in, that kind of thing. Networking kind of thing, but as far as granting programs or whatever that else, there's a plethora. Wayne could probably name up 20 of them. Things you could do to help them, that would be beyond our scope.
Well, I think the other issue is if somebody wanted to hold us to that. Well, I'm reading your mission statement and it says that you're gonna help us with opportunities and thrive and grow. I don't know that at this point in time, we want to be held to that.
Or to put it a different way, I don't think that's our mission. Because
Mhm.
that's probably more of a chamber issue than, I mean, once we get you here
Mhm.
and you're looking at, you know, they do offer assistance and things to help people grow.
Well, according to uh, the matrix, which goes with our town plan, one of our responsibilities is to continue assisting existing businesses as much as we're able. But because that's already in the master plan, I don't think it has to be in the mission.
Well, I was gonna say,
statement.
I mean, we can assist,
Mhm.
but part of assistance is, you know, directing and we can, but yeah, I don't.
We don't really have the tools. We
Right.
have the capabilities of knowing where to go and what to do, or someone could come and introduce themselves, or they could say, hey, listen, we're over here. This is what's going on. We're looking to do this, and we can help facilitate ways to help them. But as far as the tools that we have to actually do it ourselves on the growth chart or whatever you want to call it, I don't know what we would have to offer that way. We wouldn't be looking for granting and whatnot. We would be sending them places to go look for things, or
Mhm.
if they want to make contacts with another business, or if they're having a problem with, I don't know, like growing when it comes to building and zoning, or whatever it would be, we would direct them to the right department, but we really don't have the tools to do that
Mhm.
ourselves.
I feel like we're here more to sustain and build an economic environment to help
Mm-hmm.
them succeed than to be hands-on with their.
Agreed.
Mhm. Okay, so, and that's not in Sarah's. I'm kind of looking at Sarah's to be that mishmash of the combination. The only thing that she was missing, and I agree with you, Jen, I like the part about heritage. So that last sentence in Felicia's was through strategic partnerships and thoughtful planning, we strive to create a vibrant and inclusive business environment that honors our town's distinct character and heritage. Whereas Sarah's last sentence is by attracting, identifying and supporting businesses that complement our values, we strive to create a vibrant and inclusive business environment, contributing to the overall prosperity and well-being of our town.
Well, I think that both of those statements are true.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of not making it wordsmith over there. Chris is like, not making it one sentence. She's my grammar girl when I need help.
We all know how we all handle certain things without
Yeah.
anyone ever saying it. I do like the part, though, about the strategic partnerships and thoughtful planning.
Mhm.
Because that goes to our interest in having a planner for the town. And so I think that's an important thing to have in our mission statement because it goes along with our next step, which is to put together something for the town to, try to take the next step with us about getting in a planner for the
Mhm.
town.
You've sold me on that. That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense, what you just said.
Thank you. So my proposal would be that, to take that last sentence from Felicia's and remove, the last sentence from Sarah's and replace that. Although we can make it into two sentences, Krista. So,
And mine, I think yours is pretty much Felicia's, just in a.
so,
All right.
Yeah, there's.
So
So
just
we
said-
did, this
And I
is the
think Sarah-
wordsmithing.
My
Yeah.
only
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
general comment is
Yeah, I think
like
Sarah
the
pulled it from both.
an economy.
I
of
reread them
words.
again yesterday.
shorter
I
the
was like,
better.
okay, now I remember
But-
what
Yeah.
so
direction.
this
we
last
went.
sentence of Felicia's,
Mhm.
I think is better written than the last sentence that Sarah has.
I'm gonna just go over here. So we have that sentence. Do we need vitality?
I think vitality is just looking at, that it's healthy.
Sustainable?
Well, we already have
We have
sustainable.
Okay.
Sustainable to me isn't necessarily the same as vitality. You can have an ongoing economic system, but is that necessarily like alive?
Mm,
You know, I'm just trying to think of energetic and, I was gonna say vibrant, but that sounds too close to vitality.
Well, the last sentence from Felicia's has the word vibrant.
Mhm.
We have a lot of words.
Right, right.
Trying to like keep in my head,
Mhm.
thinking like the mission statement should be pretty like compact, concise.
Mhm.
So I'm just looking to where we might be able to trim some of the words.
Oh, absolutely. Well, there's no doubt that some of it says similar things to each other within the sentences. So since you have the laptop there, if you want to play with what words we can eliminate to some degree and then see what we have left.
Yeah, I like this one sentence that was from Dave's, which, and maybe it's in others as well. By attracting, identifying, and supporting businesses that complement our values, we strive to create a thriving business environment, vitality, thriving.
Yep.
Thriving.
Sure.
contributing to the overall prosperity of our community.
Well, I also like his language of the robust business ecosystem. Because to me, that's the same kind of thing as sustainable economic growth and vitality.
You know, I feel like we're saying the same thing like
Right.
5 different ways.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that's why I'm being quiet, because I'm confused, but you have it in front of you and you seem to have a good train of thought going.
Well, the robust ecosystem is only 3 words versus, you know, where was the other one? Sustainable economic growth and vitality. I mean, that seems much longer than just a robust.
I don't have the other two in front of me.
That's okay. Well, she added
Did she send
dates.
it?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's in the Google sheet. Everything's all in,
Well, I don't, there's
Oh,
nothing really, like, it's just the 2 sentences at this point.
right?
Did she add that today?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
probably why I didn't see it.
Um,
She said today.
Kristen typed it in, David's in while I
Oh,
said it,
gotcha.
and
Oh,
then
yeah.
Sarah added hers.
Saves us a
Thank
minute.
you.
Well, how about, since we don't all have it in front of us, how about by, before our next meeting, everybody goes in and plays with the document to the point where we can, wordsmith it down to a smaller mission statement. And then that would give us something to chew on so that when we hit our next meeting, a vote on it would go much quicker. And we should be able to insert comments, I think, into this as well.
Mhm.
So it might not always be changing something, but adding comments. Does that work for everyone?
Yes, that's fine with me.
Yeah,
Do I have to make a motion about that?
No.
Okay. Just wanna be sure. Don't want to violate any.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so,
Oh, here we go. Now we got it.
okay, so the first thing was the approval of the April minutes, and we're gonna postpone that till next month.
Yep.
So the mission statement finalization, we're gonna postpone till next month, but with everybody going into the Google Doc and being prepared to figure out how we can pull in the key things, but wordsmith it down to a smaller few sentences. You know, and maybe it's a matter of highlighting the key words that we do like within it, to help us narrow down what might be extraneous. For example, you like the word heritage. I like the other sentence that was in there about the thoughtful planning. And because it feeds into what we want to be able to do as a group. We want to. I hesitate to even do that because we don't have it all looking in front of us, but I think if we go through and highlight the words that we know we absolutely want in here, I think it will help us narrow it down. I mean, David's is pretty short. I just think that there's a couple things that need to be added into that one, if anything. Sound good?
yes,
Did you want to add anything?
no, I will,
Sounds good to me.
I will take, I hadn't
I'd really like to hear
done
what,
my homework. so I will do my homework.
No one called you out, Chris.
And I would really like to hear what Felicia has to say, because,
Mhm.
and Sarah
Yeah,
together,
Yes.
they were really,
Yep.
Absolutely.
they
Yep.
were working on it.
So I will, in case people don't go back and watch the recording, I will send out an email to everyone about the homework assignment then, so that we can make sure that we're ready to go, because the longer we delay finalizing this, the longer it's gonna take us to bring it to the town board workshop. I prefer, unless anyone has a different preference, I prefer to do it on one of those Wednesday meetings instead of doing it on the workshop for the Monday night board meetings. Because their workshop for that one is usually all geared towards what's going to be in the town board meeting that night. So I'd rather take this to a Wednesday meeting.
Wednesday's a lot less informal too. They seem to be in a better mood. Too.
As we say, the Mondays can get a little,
Yeah. Jen, I didn't have a chance to speak with you, but I figured there might be something going on. Do you have anything that's going on?
Long range,
Mhm.
nothing new on the horizon except that our last, well, there's a couple of small things that long range hasn't even talked about yet, but that are gonna be coming down our belt yet that they don't know about yet, but the last meeting we had probably about a 2 hour and 15-minute conversation about the property on Whitehaven and East River
Mhm.
and the newest proposal that was brought in. And so we were trying to find not a compromise, because I said that and they hated that word, a trade-off or a way we could find an equal or somewhere where it fit into what the zoning is there now, but a reality, and giving the residents over on Timberlink more of a buffer in between them, taking some business out of the one corner, but leaving it still a small part of that corner is B1, which could be anything. It could be a gas station, it could be a car. B1 is the ultimate of, you could put anything in a B1.
sorry, I'm sorry, I missed, I was typing.
Oh,
Are we talking about Gulfview or Ransom Road?
Gulfview.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there's two pieces of business over there, but they're both B1s. On the triangle on the very end of that of East River, that's actually owned by the same people that own, oh, I got so many, what is it, South Point? Yeah. They didn't even really, they knew they owned that, but regardless, that's a B section that is still there. On that other parcel, there's another B section there. And they're considering taking that business part out. I think it's like, I'm off the top of my head, I didn't bring all my paperwork, but I want to say it's like maybe 2.8 acres is what that little corner is. So the suggestion was possibly taking that out of the bigger piece that's being proposed right now in that PDD, taking that business part out and making the corner, trying to get the corner changed to B3. Whatever stays there needs to go to a B3. So it's small, commercial, something small. And so we need to rechange the zoning on that. And then it was about moving the road around, the outside loop road around, so that when something does get built on that little corner piece, this development that they're proposing doesn't block off that piece being used, because you're not gonna really be able to put a curb cut or anything around that corner in front of Ransom Road. So we're trying to look at the future as to when that gets developed or how it could be developed, that it'll be a puzzle piece that'll fit into what they're proposing now. They did make the lots larger on the Timberlink side, because the whole outside is single family and the inside is townhouses. And everyone's not perfect with what's the residential part of it, the single family, but I think we're okay with that. It's the density of the inside part of it as to where the townhomes are. And that is the biggest discussion, because there's a big discussion is having only one garage townhomes. And so they're worried about snow, they're worried about parking and all this. So we gave Long Range gave a bunch of guidance on what we thought and how that should work. and send it back, and the town board discussed it and brought it back to that developer. And we should be getting an update on that soon to see what their next plan is or where they're gonna work with us. So I think there'll be some movement. I just don't know as of yet what it'll be. And then on the, on the next thing, long range, is we're gonna start relooking at all the business and commercial zones on the island. So Pete's thinking about, he wants us to possibly hire a planner. This just came out last week, and look at all the zoning on the island.
Hey, funny, that's kind of what we would like to.
Yeah. So this goes in depth with the M1. The M1's been a real, you know, I don't know if you're following it or whatnot, but it was about basically getting deciding what a warehouse is, deciding what a distribution center is, deciding what's too big, what's right over there, you know, what property rights. I have my own feelings and whatnot of what's over there, but then we sent some suggestions to Erie County because you have to on that. Erie County came back and said, we don't like what you're proposing with making the building smaller. So it's been a lot of litigation stuff going back and forth and whatnot. So the M1 has really been in contention with a lot of residents on the island. Monday, they had kind of another, it wasn't a public hearing because we already had a public hearing, but there was a lot of public feedback, and they were considering on voting on the M1, the new law, which was, I think, law number 6, and they decided to turn it down because they were feeling that it was more of a Band-Aid right now, where it may fix one problem, but that law really isn't for the long road project. That law is what they're looking for, is for all of our Ms. And how big things on like our Staley Road and things like that, like what is big and where should this fit? So there was a lot of pushback that night. The public wasn't happy. But I understand it's been a long discussion and going, but I really do believe that they made the right choice, me personally, because looking at that, and now I'm sitting on the zoning board with Pete, and we've been really digging deep into all this. And with the zoning and planning and engineering, people that this is their jobs, looking at all this and really looking deep, and there's just so, that's why I think we keep falling in these problems every time these big projects come, is because our zoning is so out of whack. We don't have mixed use, we don't have, you know, we don't have all this. So as much as we want to try to, not me, but whatever, as much as we want to try to fix that M1, where as many times as they've gone over and over, it just didn't seem like it seems to be the right move right now. So they're gonna relook at it again, and that's another reason why Pete had suggested about relooking at all the zoning. So that's gonna be a huge haul if that comes our way, and
That's been
yeah,
one of the main goals from long range right from the very
Yes.
beginning, so.
yeah,
I
right,
mean,
you know, yeah.
I just have a different word for compromise for you. Harmony.
Oh, there you go, Harmony.
Find some
Yes,
Harmony.
yeah, Paul Ector didn't like that at all.
Sure, he
He's
did.
so funny.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
Just because I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm not fully up to speed on what's happening. In terms of the community being a little dissatisfied, were they wanting this to go through and it didn't?
Yeah, they wanted it, and what happened is they voted it down. I'm sorry, and they put a moratorium in. So anything that's 25,000 square feet or larger has a moratorium for 6 months right now.
Oh, was one of my
So,
questions,
it's
is they were
still-
considering
yes,
moratorium.
the
when they did their
moratorium.
Planning.
Yeah, so that should be completed by next week's workshop. It's already in to get written up, so it gets on the books right away, but that's what they're gonna do, is a moratorium. So while it isn't necessarily fixing the issue or whatever it is right now, but if I try to look at from on their way, you know, too, over there, and it is stopping, it is still somewhat, not stopping, but putting a pause on over there and making sure that they get it right, so.
My other question is, again, because I haven't been able to really tune in. One of the things that when I think about some of these larger warehouses is that they're 24/7 operations. And I've said this before, probably at these meetings before, but like if you go to West River, and it's like a nice quiet morning, you can still hear the cars in Canada. So sound travels.
Mhm.
And so one of my thoughts that, you know, a large 24/7 facility, like the impact that that would have is about the noise and the sound. And I'm wondering if that's been a part of the conversation so far.
Well, yes, because
And like in terms of if we're in terms of like setting business hours or when you know, if they're looking at certain things, are they also looking at whatever's in the code about noise levels, et cetera?
that is one, so I haven't seen that data myself, but I can say when we go down the checklist and there's like EIS forms and all these, in there, one of those things is pollution, sound, light pollution, infrastructure. Those are all in there and all of those have to have some kind of report, some kind of, you know, study, some kind of what on that. Now, I know there's discrepancies on what some of the neighbors feel, what they feel the reports of what will be coming out there. But to see, this is what I really think the problem is nobody really knows if we're just taking that property, so take the M1 discussion out of it. If we're just talking about over there, we don't really know to a certain level what's being necessarily proposed over there and what the traffic is necessarily going to be. And that's the whole problem of just trying to pin down. So what is a distribution center? What is considered a warehouse? Because they really can go hand in hand and it could start out as this and then down the line switch into another thing because now you have this gigantic, you know, there's certain
Yeah, I
ways.
mean,
And it's all about traffic. It's all about that 24/7. It's about how often they come in. It's about distributing goods all over the place, like, you know, Amazon would go out and they're distributing it to homes where if it was a distribution center or whatnot, or a warehouse, they would be storing things and then just taking things out of there and all taking them to Target or taking, you know what I mean? And I think that's part of the discussion too. And I think that's a lot of the confusion on those levels too,
Yeah,
as
and
to what's going to be coming in and out of there, right?
I didn't mean to be, I know my example.
Oh, no,
was
no, no, I know.
That
I know.
particular property, but like all of Grand Island is flat. So
Yeah.
if you have trucks that are making that like backing up beeping sound at like 2 in the morning,
Yeah,
you'll hear it for miles,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
matter
yeah.
where you are on this
Yeah,
island.
yeah.
So anyway, I was just wondering if those like noise type issues are part of the conversation.
I would
just
think-
because I haven't.
Yeah, the two would be the noise and the air pollution from the trucks. Those are the two biggest
Yeah.
constant, you know, which would include the traffic. It's all of what's going to be
Yeah.
coming in and out of there too. And that's, so in order to make that law, how do you work around that so that you could put that into the law or to right to build on that? And you're not stifling the allowance because we don't have the right language for it. Does that make sense? Or vice versa, the other way. You know what I mean? So I think it's the fact that we've got 40 cooks in the kitchen trying to cook this up
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? And so, and then the attorneys, there's conversations about the attorney saying okay or whatnot. And some of those discussions I've sat down and with and they say yes, but it's like, yeah, you could do that, but it's not like, this is right. They're like, you could go that direction, you could look at that, but they haven't really written anything out themselves to say, this is this is it, this is, you know, lock and key, you've found the right combination for this, yeah. So.
One of the things I wanted to add, because you guys are bringing up some great points. The backing is yeah, definitely that would be something that's local. But we definitely have more control with all of these issues if we're working and talking with whoever the prospective developer is for whatever. I get concerned when we just say two things. One is just plain out no, and they go, like in that case, up the street that way or up the street that way, and we lose any chance of being able to regulate that activity, and they're going to come through our neighborhoods anyway. So yeah, being able to say, and I can tell you, I can't say this across the board because it does need to be in conversation, but when I said coming up with Lindy Praxair, I dealt with logistics. And I can tell you that, yeah, the 2 o'clock in the morning backing up may be a thing because, yeah, they're going to be doing a lot of the loading and things during the normal peak times when we're out and about. And we're not going to be whoever is not going to be. I'm not so sure if that's the same of a smaller operation, but those types of operations will be doing a lot of the things off hours. And that is a blessing and a curse, you know? So if you're doing it off hours for them, they're going to be looking at time is money. I don't want my truck. They're not going to send out a bunch of trucks at 8 o'clock in the morning. But on the same token, like you said, if there's activity during the off hours, how much is that going to be disruptive? And I just want to be sure that we keep the communication lines open because when you get a proposal, you only get 3 options. You either accept it, reject it, or come back with some, we can't say compromise, harmonious, harmonious counter. As long as we keep in that mind, because I'm surprised, and not to bring politics into this, but as a generally Republican island, we're not very business friendly, which is kind of a funny thing. But there's more Democrats and independents that are more accepting or understanding. But again, the idea is I think that we definitely need the conversation. We definitely need the back and forth to be able to make sure that, number one, we understand the issues appropriately at the time, because you're right. If we don't do it right, we're not going to have the time or efforts to be able to do it over.
Right.
Yeah, I don't, in terms of like the way that these discussions are framed, I personally like the way I see them is they're not associated with Democratic or Republican leanings. They're associated with our town values
That's right.
Oh, no, I
as
agree
a
with that.
whole,
I agree
which
with that.
might mean, and I tend to not think of it as us being anti-business, but pro preserving the character of the island. And you mentioned like they're gonna build it somewhere else. There's a large part of this island that's perfectly fine to have them build it somewhere else.
That's
and
true.
Just use our roads and not be located on this island because it does not, in a lot of people's opinions, fit with the character of this island. So I think and what I feel like, is part of what we try to do here is figure out what are the types of businesses that will allow us to maintain the character and the natural space that we hope to be able to preserve on this island while still providing really, to use some of our words, vibrant economic
Robust.
opportunities, so I think it's sort of, that's sort of how I like to frame it as opposed to like thinking in terms of like how I think it shakes out. I don't think it necessarily shakes out along political lines as like that black and white here. It's like more the community values, like you
But that goes
actually
back-
like cross party lines, in this town on
I'm not a
some
big
of those
fan of parties,
issues.
but
Yeah.
But that goes back to what you were saying before about, just getting the zoning right. And because I look at it and I say, if I buy this piece of property and it's zoned for X, and I want to do X,
Yeah.
so we need to look at it. Number one, I'm going to have a hard time if you're telling me no. And then if I buy it and I bought it with the intention of doing what you said I could do, and then you don't let me do it, we're going to pay for that. Yeah.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right. So when you change the zoning, you're gonna know what you're buying into right from the beginning.
And that's the intent. So, yeah, the idea of getting a planner or somebody and be able to say, yeah, how do we reflect our
Mhm.
values? And, but yeah, I'm very concerned about the extremes, and again,
Yeah. I agree with
either
you.
letting everybody in do whatever they want,
Absolutely, right.
and that's not right. But then,
No.
getting the reputation that, oh, we don't want to deal with those Grand Island folks because, So
Right.
being able,
Right.
to a large degree, we've got to identify who we are and what we want, and then we can build around that. But right now, I think that there's been so many things in the past that, so we have a little hodgepodge of this and that, and
I think the biggest thing of that, and just like were saying, is the definition of what that is. Because when that zoning was originally there, I don't think anyone had in mind that there were these mega
correct.
whatever. And so we didn't really catch up quick enough with the zoning as things were coming in and how economics and whatever, everything's moving along. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball on looking at this. That originally was not the intention or idea of what we ever thought would be put there, right? So, but you're right, Rain. I mean, if you're looking at that property, so there's somebody who's owned that for years and right to build and they've invested just tax dollars in there for so many years and we're holding, so regardless, I think it's trying to find that middle ground where, and I think that's where the hardest point of all of this is. And I think that's why everyone who is involved or trying to do anything this is extremely frustrated on both sides. Because it's just so, we want to everyone wants to find that definition, make that law, set up that zoning and, move to the next. We got so much going on, but that's a disservice to us if we do it wrong, right? We should
True.
make sure it's absolutely right.
True.
Yeah. And like
You're gonna say
full
something,
circle.
Roger?
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
well, I also think if we can find ways that we can address the adverse impacts that
Bingo,
you've
Absolutely.
pointed out.
bingo.
And sometimes you can, sometimes you
Sometimes you
can't.
can't.
I was opposed to the South Point project years ago when the developers first came because I thought it was going to destroy that whole forest in there. And this is a different topic, but to my dismay, the developer, I hope eventually we do get a long-term care facility here because we surely need one on Grand Island. But a lot of us were at that point totally opposed to South Point. But once there was a compromise reached in which we can preserve most of this woods here,
Mhm.
we can work perhaps with environmentalists here to create corridors that are walkable and nature friendly, then my whole opposition changed
Mhm.
because I'm at that point where term care doesn't look so bad,
Right.
But so I think, so I was short-sighted at that time, but it did take that original developer that came in, it seemed to me was just gonna, it looked like they were gonna
Yeah.
flatten the place. And I think that's where we can be helpful is working with our different components, our friends from the environmental side and
Right.
friends from the business side to try to figure out how we can reach a amicable solution. Now, we can't always, but it seems to me that's one of the things we
Agreed.
could
And
do.
we've learned now. So we have the Staley Road now. My father lives on Staley Road, but I grew up there. The traffic there is insane there, trying to get out. Like when I go just put my boat in back every year, like I have to make sure it's not when the shift changes because I'm not the expert pulling my boat in back. Like I need like 4 minutes to do the, I'm not like, I'm like, okay, please don't let anyone be on the road. Like I need 3, whatever, anyways. But it's crazy, like just going, and they did a point where they did allow the residents to change their mailboxes to the side of their house, but there's no shoulder, there's no whatever. But then the other level, like my parents have said, like we moved there and we knew this wasn't a walkable street. So the walkability, yeah, that should be added and whatnot, but I didn't move here expecting that there was gonna be these whatever, but they're still advocating to work on Staley Road. But that's a perfect example of where we didn't look all the way down and that has gotten so big now. And while that is a huge economic boost for our island, our taxes, everything, jobs
Right.
and everything, but maybe that wasn't the right place. So that's
Wrong
why,
place.
right, why they're trying so hard to make sure that we don't end up with the wrong scenario
Right.
and looking further where the projections and everything are. And I will tell you with all these was a huge discussion, putting that's all ready to go. That's all been pinned up and ready. That's done. That should take them 6 months to build. Once they get going, it's gonna be real quick. But noise, when the trucks were coming in there, what times they were coming in there, light pollution, talking to all the neighbors over there. Like, we had neighbors come in last Monday that were like, we're across the street, we're excited. And I was like, this is so refreshing. I've been sitting in these meetings for 11 years. And it was so nice to have someone come up and say, oh, I love that you're building something. I was like, or whatever. But anyways, that was nice to hear, but they really did try to work with all. Now, is it, it's all these, we're not talking about the Taj Mahal, but they really did work with, with all our design standards that we're working on, making those curves right, trying to do it the best they could. Dark skies, when the trucks will be coming in, there'll be no noise after 9 o'clock. Once they're shut down, that's it. So it's not going to be an all night kind of thing. They'll have 1 truck a day, maybe 2, but those will be during regular hours. So,
That's great information.
Yeah.
Thank
But,
you.
but yeah,
Yeah.
and that's that
Like-
was basically my point, is that when you're dealing with an individual entity, whatever, you've got the ability to have, if we decide to talk and listen,
Yep.
we can say, hey, yeah, this is who we are and what we like and what we want, how do you make this work for us? So we're all
yeah,
quote unquote happy. And it's not going to be 100% thing, but you can do it in such a way where you can write the law for the 100%. And what's supposed to happen is that should take 80, 90, 95%, and that 2 or 3, 4, 5% that's different. That's where you get the variances, and you can look at those on a onesie, twosie
Mhm.
basis and say, is
What's
this
the
going
right
to be,
fit
what's the
for
right
there?
fit?
Right.
Right, right.
Well, I think this just all comes back to why we ultimately need a planner.
Yep.
Because I think the planner can have a lot of help with, those types of laws and rules. And then Kristen, I think it goes back as well to, I agree. I think the island isn't necessarily, doesn't fall into, one political line or the other political line, but I think we still, which goes back to one of Versailles points, is that we still really don't have a hardcore true identity for ourselves. There's different people who have perspectives of what that should be, but it's not solidified in a way that we can take that then out to the business world and really.
But I
push
think
forward.
that's what's part of our, that's
I think,
that's
yeah.
exactly what our mission,
Right.
because when I talk with folks, I hear a bunch of different words, but I don't feel a lot of different feelings. I think that
Right.
most of the community does feel a particular way. And then that's, like I said, I see that as being part of our mission, to be able to say, in some cases, we're going to be an educator and telling people this is how
well,
this.
that's exactly what I was
Oh,
gonna say.
yeah.
Well, another reason for planning is maybe with that planner, a help with
Right.
education.
Right.
Mhm.
On
Exactly
how
right.
things,
Yeah.
how it's being, like, you hear that a lot, where, why are we building, how come there's a Taco Bell? It's like, well, we can't really say, oh, no, we don't want Taco Bell on Grand Island. Like, do we need another taco place or whatnot? But
Yeah.
we don't have a choice in that. If it fits into our code, if it fits into what they're allowed to do with their property,
Yeah, to that point, exactly to that
that's where
point.
we can help
Like-
them out and get those other businesses, maybe to
Right.
fill in the holes.
I like the idea of hitting the pause button, opening up the code, looking at it, because as the island, we need to define ourselves and what we want to be,
Right.
because what has happened up until this point
Right.
is other people have been defining what we're going to be, because our code because we haven't we've been working off a code that's a bit out of date
Yep.
and needs updating. So I think this is I think a lot of people have been calling for updating the code for a long time. I know it's not easy, because you come up against so many issues to do it, but I do think, if we don't do it, we will continue to be defined not by ourselves. And we're gonna continue to bump up against the same issues over and over again. And so I think it's great. And I think this conversation has been great. I think going full circle back to defining our mission
Mhm.
is for us to really think about, given the direction that this is going, and being realistic about it too, like, where can we provide that support?
Mhm.
And I think we've talked about it in all these meetings over the years too, but you can't just wish for certain businesses to show up at your doorstep,
Mhm.
and so I'm not sure, without our own economic planner? Cause well, I assume when you're talking about planner, you're talking about a zoning planner.
Yeah, it would
You
be,
know, not what, when we talk about an economic development planner, it's
right.
a,
this would be zoning,
different-
deciding what parcels and
Yeah.
what fits and what's outdated, or looking mixed uses and looking at, you know, where our PPD, it should even fall in there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, my own personal feeling is you can kick those to the curb and sayonara, like, I don't want to see those. If we do grant them, then they should have some kind of sunset clause or something in the language that if they have to be built as the PDD was granted, can't be changed down the line. And if it hasn't started within 5 years, it's lost.
well, if we change this,
Most
like
communities do
update the
that.
zoning, there should be less of a need for anybody to ask for PDD, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and what she's saying, and again, I mean, like I said, I wasn't getting into politics, but I'm looking at the people that are responsible for making the decisions for that. PDDs have all of that stuff in there. And yet the people, the boards, the governing bodies, do they enforce it? Do they
Nope.
say, you know? So,
There's a may clause, may or shall.
right,
So they can,
Right.
they can say, no, you lost your PDD, but nobody on an election
right, right.
level, who's the ones that are gonna make that decision, are going to say, see you later. It's just not gonna happen. So I will say, in short, the Ransom Road did put a proposal in over there. And they have something we were talking about, and they've now added that to the language that what they're proposing. Now, that's not a PDD, that's a zone change, but they are saying, they're adding it to the language that if this gets granted, it will be done within a certain amount of time and it will not change. Or this is what will be built and we will do this within.
How are
so
they
many years.
addressing the Hamlet issue? I'm adamant about that one because we have that in our town plan.
Yeah.
That's a hamlet.
Yeah.
So I think we need, my own personal view, we need to stand pat and say, the town has leverage here. We don't have to yield. Now, the hamlet it's a concept that you were working on. It was agreed to, we had consensus, we had town meetings, we all came
Where
together.
are we at? Because I'm kind of confused about that.
We're
So-
over Ransom Road by,
Right, no, I guess.
So
the
really, a
projects,
hamlet
but
is those areas that are
by me,
somewhat near
so we're-
residential
we're-
areas.
Take Love Road.
Yeah, love.
So you've got, well, when I moved there, you had a drugstore and you had
Right.
a little convenience store and you had a gas station. And if I didn't want to run all the way up to the center of town or whatever, there was a nice, the women had hair and nail
Yeah.
salon there and whatever. So that was a hamlet and it's a convenience piece for that neighborhood to do whatever. That's the only, I don't want to say that's the only one I'm familiar with, but I mean, I understand that there is a lot of conversation about should we even have them? Do we not have them? I mean.
I think the question is, Wayne, is whether the proposal that was made over there on Ransom
Mhm,
is for that complex
mhm.
is compatible with what the definition in our town
Okay, what
plan
our
is
definition of hamlet
of
is.
what a hamlet
for what
is.
they- Okay,
And so people who lived over there, some people, now, not everybody agrees, but I think we should be in the middle of that discussion in a way to protect the town plan and to figure out, is there a way you can compromise? So people are thinking about smaller shops there, coffee shops, things that would enhance the neighborhood.
and what
that-
I was getting at was to say that, like you said, we can't just let them roll over us.
That's right, because we
And-
have leverage.
And exactly, and what I seen is where for the fear of losing the development or whatever, or I can't tell them no, or I can't, but we should be able to say, this is what we want.
Right.
And then, like Jen said, put it out there, but this is what we want. Now, would we accept this? Okay,
Well, it
let's
goes back
talk
to
about that.
Design standards as well. I
Mhm.
mean, and that
Mhm.
goes back to what you said, Kristen, as far as other people making us who we are. And we went how many projects where we really didn't enforce design standards of
Right.
any kind. And so now we got these blah,
Dollar General should have had more
Well-
facade on the front of it. That's the idea of a hamlet. A hamlet is
Right.
where commercial and residential come together and that whatever is built in the commercial level, business level, should help sustain or help build the community. So it's things like you said, the hairdresser, the small shops, the pizza shop, the whatever, those little things. It's not these. It's, and then how they don't stand out like a sore thumb, where they work in with the community and they have some community benefits to them. Maybe they have a
Right.
corner little park here, or maybe they have a nice gazebo in the corner, or maybe
Right.
they add, you know, a nice tree landscaping to the street or things like that. So there's five hamlets designated to be on the island. But I'll tell you, the Ransom Road and Stony Point one is one of the conversations is, which I get confused about, and this is actually a really good board to talk about that real quick, is that they're that's zoned over there for a business over there. And they're really trying to take a lot of the business zoning out of that. And one of that is the developer that's there, and in general, just says, you know, that keeping small business in there, or who's gonna build over there, is it really sustainable? So that's really a conversation that's looking as to how much would be sustainable, but then also not giving it away. And right now, I mean, I obviously have no say in that. My own personal feeling, this isn't about any of the boards or any discussions I have, but I'm fearful to get away from that, because yeah, it may not be feasible now, or those little small restaurant or whatever now, but we're building these pockets. These are those pockets that are supposed to enhance these neighborhoods. And if we get rid of that, taking an R zoning and bringing it to a B zoning
Right.
typically is near impossible. Everyone always wants to do the reverse, but when you take that away, it's very hard to take it and bring it back. So it's one of those sections. And so that's a hard. I don't like the project, but I shouldn't say to a certain point. I mean, now that I'm on the planning board, I'm not really a fan of the residential homes over there backing up to Ransom Road. I think the traffic is gonna be crazy. I think Cardinal and Bedell is a nightmare, and how, especially our kids that are all new drivers, have not ended up in more accidents over there is beyond me, because I hate driving that section over there. But I'm just saying, it's horrible over there. And so even though they might put a light in, my fear is now if they put a light in, how are you starting up buses to stop? I think it's gonna slow things, move things back even more to add, whatever, so again,
Yeah,
those are another reason why it seems like delay, but these are all the questions that, you know, it seems like you get one knocked off and say, okay,
Right.
we do need a traffic light there, we need this, and something else comes up, and just, and everyone asks, and my saying is always, government is slower than slow. It is beyond frustrating. I've just gotten to the point that everything is going to take forever, and you're gonna talk about everything 400 times before you move 1 inch.
So on that
goes.
note, I'd like to kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, because it's going to take us outside of our goal of ending early. So, I mean, it's all wonderful conversations and topic pieces, absolutely.
This is why you need a good plan, some good planners, so.
Yeah, yeah,
Because planners can help you design
Yeah.
neighborhoods that look.
But I don't think as of this board, I don't think we should be shy. If there's something that we feel as a whole and putting it together and just we're an advisory board to advise the town board what our concerns and where we're looking at things are. We don't need to be asked to do that. So if.
Yeah, but we have to
if
know
you-
what's happening though.
Right, but
And that's the problem.
We
We
have
don't
a-
know what's happening.
I get that too.
As a board,
Yeah.
we have the right
Right,
to stand up for the town
Right.
plan,
right.
the master plan. The master plan is pretty clear. And I think we all need to read that master plan very carefully and stand by it, because you all put that time into it. You had the community meetings, and so that's just one thing I feel
Yeah.
like. That's one device we have, is that we can tell developers, you gotta make it conform to what we
Yeah,
want as a
exactly.
town.
And this all comes back, I want to circle it back and close it out with our mission statement, because our mission statement is going to indicate how we want to be involved in those kind of conversations with the town and our purpose behind it. And so I think that's what's going to make us stronger when we present our mission statement to the town board, so that they know and they're prepared for when we come and have conversations or concerns or whatever else like that. So,
yeah. One of the things I haven't done myself, but as we're talking and as you were talking just now, I thought of is to look at some other towns
Mhm.
and what their economic development boards look like, groups, boards, whatever they call them, how they function. That might help us define ourselves as well. And I haven't done that yet myself, but that's something between now and the next meeting, I'll try to do.
But they're bigger towns.
I was about to say, that's,
Hard.
generally, that's a good concept. But we're Grand Island, and it's gonna be difficult to find a comparable
Even
town.
City of Tonawanda, I mean, they
Yeah.
also are working with waterfront as far as that goes. And they're not that large of a population, it's 2 miles square.
Yeah.
So what does their EDAB look like? And I know Main Street's really important to them and keeping everything looking the same as far as the building fronts and stuff like that.
That canal buildup, look at, they did that.
Yes.
Boom.
Yep.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, we could probably, as we look at these other communities, invites one of their people or whatever to come in and brief us and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When I bicycle through Amherst, which I do quite frequently, the long trails,
Mhm.
I look at things along the trail that seem compatible with what aesthetically pleases me.
Yeah.
And so I think in terms more of projects
Mhm.
than real too global, but like if we were if the developer who hopefully eventually get that long-term care facility together,
That we really, yeah.
I think it would be nice that your design standards, look at some of the towns where we find the long-term care facility well positioned to fit in with the environment that we are
The
looking
largest
for,
growth
that
rate
share
on
our
the island
values.
is senior population.
So if you could bicycle through a long-term care facility and
Which is 53 and above, I think, they classified it.
and walking trails through it and that kind of stuff.
Well, I know the goal, I now that I had 50, I'm part of the Gold Beach.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there are more and more that are kind of coming into the group here. Roger and over here, over here saying, welcome aboard.
But I think the economic graphics or whatever were like 53, but anyways,
Yeah.
Roger, I didn't interrupt you, but you're absolutely correct.
yeah, and
Yeah.
to your point, like, we're never gonna be like Lewiston, right? Like, we're not gonna have that feel and look to it, but finding other towns that are doing something, even if they're not doing things similar, just I'm curious, like, how do they function?
Yeah, I hear.
What do they run?
Yeah.
Like, one of the things I've been, and I know we've got to end this meeting. But like, can we do something to, we talk about in this mission, like attracting business. Well, how are we doing that? Like,
Mhm.
can we get funding? Can we get, what can we offer?
Well, that
to attract those
LWRP, the LWRP that's getting
businesses.
approved, that should be getting approved, I think it's gonna be a huge growth for economic development. So once that gets done and that gets approved, that's gonna open us up for a ton of granting. It's gonna open us up for a lot of opportunities of trying to get these economic, however we're gonna go about doing that, getting people to come in and see the projects and the proposals that are planned for all the way around the water.
So Jen, where are we with the LRWP? Is it out now?
Yeah,
Can we see it?
yes,
actually?
it's on. It just went, the update just went on, they put it on new projects. I just got an email from Westfall today.
Right.
So go look at the new projects link and it's on the very bottom. The planning board is looking at it on Monday. The part that I got was the assessment of how you would go. The LWRP in short is looking at anything on the water and then looking at if it falls into where, there's certain criteria. And if it falls into A, B, C through Z or whatever, then they have to stop and they have to go about how they're gonna plan it and how they're gonna develop and work it. So this LWRP is gonna be a huge thing, and it's gonna be great for our streams. It's gonna be great for getting our hopefully helping our water move, because we'll have more access to in streams and whatnot than we do on property right now. But that, Kristen, I think will be great when it comes down to the planning aspect of it, where we can look at those proposals out of that LWRP and we can look for, that's a great start, I think, for economic development, to go look for these, where we can find these smaller things and start growing on that.
And I think that's where we still have a bit of a disconnect, but that can be worked on, which is how involved are we going to be in determining you know, having a voice in what projects to go after, what, you know, like that kind of thing. And did it go up on the website because the state approved it? Or are we still
No,
waiting for the
it's-
state to approve it?
It's back from the state. It's about the town and the planning board giving their final check and then the town saying, okay, go. And there's going
Oh,
to be a public,
So it's progress.
yeah, there's gonna be a public review, because you have to have a public review session on it. And I believe that's May 20th. Don't quote me on that. It might be May 16th or 17th. It's in there somewhere. It should be on the calendar, but there'll be a public review on that. I think
And
it's
then
May
it
20th.
has, I heard you say 20-some projects that have been proposed.
Yeah,
Is that largely along the waterfront?
yep, everything's on the
Yep.
most, everything in the book is there's water to it.
Because that's where our ecotourism and recreational tourism, it seems to me,
Right.
and the kind of businesses you want to attract
Absolutely.
would fit in. Because I think that's what this town is doing, is starting to create the infrastructure that
Mhm.
makes it lucrative for a business.
Yeah,
Let's say, I keep using kayak shops and bike shops and
Right.
things of that nature.
Right.
That, hey, this is a place that we would like to set up a business, because you got the damn trail there, you got the
Yeah.
water there, you got a
but
water.
Roger, you and I very well know what those resources are, but then we can do things like, hopefully, it would be nice if we could team up with like the Holiday Inn and put a package together for the town of Grand Island. You go here, do that, but I'm just saying, like
I-
those kind of things, we don't have anything like that. Where it's like, hey, go to Fantasy Island and go to Adrian's for whatever, or do this or do that or whatever. I mean, that's probably way over our heads of.
But
The
that's
planner-
what-
the
but
planner
that's
is key.
exactly-
Right,
The planner is key to making this
what
work.
the realities are.
And but that's exactly what we have been talking about now for years.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, in terms of the ecotourism or what we want to be, which is we already have tourists that come to Buffalo, they come to Niagara Falls, and we haven't like been able to capitalize
We don't
on
have
these
wayfinding
and like
signs.
organize what is here
We
to
grab
say
them, but
exactly
just-
what you said. Come and do this, and then here's your options for places to eat and da-da. And Roger, to your point, I think all
And-
those shops you're mentioning are like right up the alley. Like if there was a place that like sold bikes and e-bikes.
The Welcome
and
Center was
all
supposed
that
to have a
stuff.
whole thing in there about Grand Island and promoting the island and helping us out and giving direction. And that was a big selling point to us when we were, I know the four of us were in when the Welcome Center was coming. And that was some of a selling thing for us because it was gonna help us with that. And you
Well,
walk in there and there's nothing there's no like Grand Island, welcome to Grand
there's
Island. and
nobody
here's
to
what's there.
welcome you to the Welcome Center. It is an unstaffed.
That's another thing that
Yes.
can be worked on.
Well, we could
Right,
have somebody
exactly.
from the chamber
Yeah,
or at the door as people come in. I mean, really.
right. But I'll tell you, we put our maps there and we put our books, those books you just got in the mail when I used to be on the chamber. And the state would not let us put them out.
Well, we gotta,
So-
What do you mean?
we
Like,
gotta
even
take them on.
now?
So
Mm-hmm.
they're there, but
We've
Unofficially
been
then?
able to do events like Birds on the Niagara.
yeah,
That's an example of how we commandeered that
yeah.
whole facility for about
Right.
3 days, right?
Right.
And we had a whole bunch of
Yeah,
vendors there, venues.
yeah, it's awesome.
So it's thinking through what kind of events that we can put together on this island that would,
I
I think
think
when it first opened, we were doing them like back when we had the farmer's market there.
Right.
We were
Yeah.
doing events every couple of months.
Yep, we sure.
But that was before it had just opened, so they hadn't wrapped a lot of red tape around what you had to, and hoops you had to jump through.
If the
to
conference
use that
room was
facility.
open, you could go in there. Now you have to
Well, I mean,
sign
yeah,
up, but it used to be you could
it
walk.
has to
through
be
the
because
door.
everybody uses it.
I know.
I mean, because it's an unmet need,
Yeah.
you know. in
But
other
you know,
ways
but the
people
thing
need-
is this, and I think Martha and David, like we were talking, you guys, we did the market analysis or whatever, and now it's building that box. So we're going with the mission statement, going there and building this out. And then drilling it through the town board's head as to where we fit into the puzzle pieces. And then going from there, because I think there's a lot of good heads in this room.
we had a
We have
good
some
planner.
great new
We
board
could
plan-
make a
So
lot
we
of
go
this
from there, I think it'll be great.
I
It'll be
would
real
like
productive.
with that LWRP to not just get like an update, like, hey, here's this project we're doing, as opposed to
Right.
asking, you know,
Right.
here's what we're considering. We'd like to get economic development's input
Mhm.
before,
Right.
you know, normally we just get told about things after they've happened and we're just supposed to,
Right.
you know, applaud and say, oh, that's great, but we're not a part of the decision making.
But in
Process.
fairness, range planning, working with people like Paul Lechner, pull together the
Oh, yeah, Paul.
RP. So you got to say that part's working.
Mhm.
Our job is then to figure out how do you turn that into economic development and ecotourism, I think. That's, and I can make a motion to adjourn if you would like
Yeah.
that.
And I can second.
Really
Or else
quickly,
I'm
does
offline.
anybody here know anyone that's on the technology?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does anyone know anyone who's on the technology